The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
The industry is changing so quickly, and the main manufacturers that are out there, they're coming up with new stuff all the time. They're not sitting back on their heels in terms of the technology. They're continuing to drive forward, and the technology that they're able to produce is incredible.
Welcome back inside our Proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Darcy Daubaras. He's the Chief Financial Officer for Hive Digital Technologies. And Darcy, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. So the company out with pretty significant news about your January output numbers, and again showing this year over year record growth for the company.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible over 2025, Steve, with our expansion into Paraguay, as we've talked about going from 6 exahash to over 25 exahash of installed capacity. And it's just been incredibly good in terms of the amount of Bitcoin we've been able to produce, having operations both in the northern hemisphere and the southern. We're able to balance off a lot of the weather that we've been experiencing here in Canada. And as we've talked about before, Bitcoin, the great things, we're able to turn our machines down when we have some demand of the electricity in those great communities that we operate in.
So 297 Bitcoin mined during the month of January, which is a 191% increase over the same period last year, about 9.6 a day. I noticed in the news release you talk a lot about the machines and the new machines and always upgrading and taking some of that money and putting it back into the operations as well. It's what's sort of get you to where you are and keeping you there. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. It's this, we'll call it preventative maintenance. You don't wait till everything breaks down, and you do it on a regular basis. So instead of having to go out and replace all of our equipment at once, we're able to do it in a controlled manner. And one of the great things we were able to do when we were going into Paraguay is move some of that equipment that we had in some of our other operations that weren't being used. And those are the ones that we're upgrading right now. We're moving some S21s down there to replace some of the buzz miners that we had moved down there so that we could get operational right away, use up that electricity. And they were machines that weren't being used at our other facilities. So this constant upgrading of equipment is so important in this industry to make sure that you're staying efficient and getting the most out of the electricity that you're consuming.
When I was reading the information about the machine specifically, Darcy, and you're announcing 2,667 new ones, the fact that even a one generation up can be a significant difference in how much you're able to mine and the amount of power that you're using.
Absolutely. The industry is changing so quickly, and the main manufacturers that are out there, they're coming up with new stuff all the time. They're not sitting back on their heels in terms of the technology. They're continuing to drive forward, and the technology that they're able to produce is incredible, making these machines more efficient, but using less energy. And we're always keeping very close contact with our major manufacturers to find out what's out there so we can keep our eyes on purchasing the most efficient at the right price. We're not going to go necessarily run out and buy the most brand new thing because it's expensive. The first day the iPhone comes out, that's the most expensive, and then it starts to come down. It's the same with this equipment. We purchase our stuff strategically when we can, and it's served us incredibly well over the last 7 years.
Okay, and lastly, Darcy, obviously you're the Chief Financial Officer, so you're always looking at the numbers and things ahead. You're happy with where the company's at and really what the plan is moving forward?
Absolutely, Steve. The dual engine that we're able to produce with the Bitcoin hashing and also the high performance computing side of the business on the Buzz. I look at it as 2025 was the year of the Bitcoin for us, the expansion into Paraguay. And we've got some incredible things coming down the pipe on the Buzz side. We've already announced the Toronto Airport acquisition. With that coming online, our partnership with Bell Canada. I see great things coming down the pipeline on the Buzz side, and a great future for Hive and for its subsidiary Buzz going through 2026 and beyond.
Well, Darcy, I appreciate your update. Thanks very much. Good to see you again, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Great. Thanks, Steve. Take care.
All right, Darcy Daubaras, the Chief Financial Officer for Hive Digital Technologies.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.